Welcome to Car and Driver. This is a 2024 BMW i4 xDrive40 that we've driven 40,000 miles. It's part of our long-term test where we aim to do that many miles in about a year or so to simulate what your new car might be like to live with for the first few years of ownership. It took us a lot longer to put those miles on this i4 for reasons we'll get into. So without further ado, let's talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, and what you can expect if you were to buy one. Think of the i4 as the all-electric doppelganger to the gas-powered 4 Series Gran Coupe. It's a smidge longer than a BMW 3 Series, but it has the benefit of having a hatchback. Now, as for what we got, we fought our usual instincts and got the second most powerful version in the lineup. That's the xDrive40. This got us 396 horsepower and 2 electric motors, one on the front and the rear, so you end up with all-wheel drive. It started at around 63 grand, but of course we added options, most specifically the M Sport package. That got us 19-inch wheels and summer tires and that M-specific steering wheel. There were a few other options like the Shadowline trim, adaptive LED headlights, parking and assistance packages, all that plus white leather and purple paint, because the purple paint's available, you gotta get it. That brought the as-tested price to just under 78 grand. We've long been fans of the BMW i4. We even awarded it 10 Best in 2023. And it's the entire lineup too, even the base model, the xDrive40. They all give you the 3 core attributes that made some of the best driving BMWs of the past. You've got talkative steering, you have supple suspension, and you have intuitive handling. Now, none of this is like sports car limit handling race car stuff, but it's those intangibles that make every driving experience really enjoyable. It's stuff you can't quite put your finger on, but when you're behind the wheel of this car, you're like, wow, this is a really nice thing to experience. And it doesn't matter if you're driving to work, if you're on a 2-lane country back road or running errands, it happens every single time. In fact, some of our editors in the logbook claimed that this drove better than most of BMW's gas-powered offerings. Now that's huge praise for this car, or faint praise for the rest of BMW's lineup, but you get the gist. Another editor even went as far to say is, if it weren't for range anxiety, he'd take this on every single weekend road trip. And we did a lot of those. This thing went to Kentucky, it went to Pennsylvania, it went to Indiana, it went to Ohio, and so on. Plainly, we love driving this thing. It is a very usable car, but that's so long as you're talking about the front seats. In the back, there just isn't a ton of space. I'm sitting behind myself. I'm about 5'10", so you can get an idea of how much fitment you might have back here. And it is a hatchback, but don't expect SUV levels of cargo space. The trunk is deep, but the sloping roofline isn't very tall, so there isn't as much space as you might think. You do get 17 cubic feet of space behind the second row, which you could compare to something like a Honda Accord, but you actually can't because the way they measure cargo space for enclosed trunks is different than the way they do for hatchbacks. So you have to look at something more comparable like an Audi A5 Sportback or even a smaller Acura Integra, and those vehicles offer more space than what you get here. The upside to the setup though is you have a wide aperture or opening, which makes loading easier, and when you drop the second row you get 46 cubic feet of space, which is more than plenty for 2 people. While we're talking about the roofline, the other big complaint about this vehicle were the compromises that it made to the rest of the vehicle. We already talked about how tight the back seat could feel for some of us. I'll add too that one of the other new dads on staff reported that fitting the rear-facing infant car seat in the back meant having to move the front seat really far forward just to make that fit. Another member on staff who's on the shorter side of the spectrum reported that they had to move the seat really far forward, and once they did that, they would frequently bash their knee on the instrument panel while getting in and out of the vehicle. Many other complaints came down to the infotainment system and its general, let's just call it fiddliness, and that's going to change for each person who uses the vehicle. So if you're interested in this, make sure you spend a lot of time with the screen to make sure that its logic matches your own, and if not, you could always default to using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. We also really didn't like the fact that the factory tire, the Hankook Ventus S1 Evo 3 performance tire, It started chunking during our initial skid pad testing. That's right, during normal instrumented testing, the rubber was literally chunking off the tire. That's suboptimal with any vehicle, let alone a sporty sedan like this. So we quickly replaced those with Michelin Pilot Sport 4s. That's another factory option. Unfortunately, we also experienced this tire chunking issue with the Michelins when we did our final test of this vehicle. Now, the xDrive40 advertises up to 307 miles of EPA rated range, but that's with the 18-inch wheels. Throw on 19s like we have on our test car, and that drops to 279 miles of range. And then when you charge to 80% daily, which is what BMW recommends you do, 225 miles of range is what you're left with. And then winter comes, then you have to subtract another 25 to 30% if you forget to precondition the cabin while charging, and then you have 150 miles of range per fill. Now that is about average for the segment with all those elements already factored in. And if you have a very short commute, that's enough. But for a lot of us here in Michigan who drive long distances, especially on weekends, it's not ideal because it can make scheduling charging on your route pretty tight. Over the duration of this test, we averaged 235 miles per fill or charge, let's say. And that isn't too far off the EPA rating when you factor in winter and freeway driving. But let's talk about freeway driving because this thing actually was pretty good in that environment, right? More than a few editors pointed out that this thing makes very good use of its moderately sized 84.3 kilowatt hour battery, and that on the freeway at 80 miles an hour, it would regularly, comfortably get over 3 miles per kilowatt in ideal temperatures. If you do the math, that gets you about 250 miles before you'd need to recharge. Like many new cars, the i4 has a condition-based service interval monitoring system. Basically, it looks at a variety of factors and a little light comes on the dash when it's time to go to the dealer for service. For us with this car, that light didn't come on for nearly 30,000 miles, at which point the i4 needed to go in for a brake fluid flush, a cabin air filter, an inspection, and a warranty recalibration of the drive unit. That was our only service visit in 40,000 miles, and it cost us nothing thanks to BMW's complimentary 3-year, 36,000 mile service program. As for unscheduled service visits, this is where it gets painful both for our wallets and an unfortunate deer. Yeah, we hit another one, and the damage and resulting repairs were surprisingly significant and expensive. It didn't look too bad at the outset, new headlight, bumper cover, faux grille covers. How much could that cost to repair? Well, it turns out a lot. Each one of these headlights, these laser headlights, over $4,000. Each radar sensor, over $1,200. Now there's a whole litany of connective tissue underneath all this that needs to be put in as well. Our final bill was about $16,500. That's one expensive buck. Something strange happened with our first winter with this i4. When we went to install our winter tires, we replaced the summers with a set of Michelin X Ice tires, and immediately the driving experience degraded. We're talking sloppy steering, wobbly, unpredictable handling, even on the freeway, to the point where some of our editors were uncomfortable driving this thing. And this wasn't the usual stuff that you get with installing winter tires that have, squirmy tread blocks either. What happened? Well, the prevailing theory is tire construction. The i4's high-performance summer tires are internally stiffer and have stiffer tread blocks to optimize things like dry road handling and grip. The winter tires need to work well on sloppy roads, so their large, deep, flexible tread blocks squirm more. Michelin makes a sport-oriented Pilot Alpine line of winter tires that we've used in the past on cars like the Porsche Cayman, and those have worked great. But we've run the X-Ice tires on other vehicles without these side effects too. So we called BMW, who told us its dealers carry BMW spec Goodyear and Pirelli winter tires that have been vetted by BMW as indicated by a small star molded on the sidewall. Other manufacturers do this and use their own symbols. We got a set of Goodyear Ultra Grip winners in the stock sizes, and voila, the secure planted feel returned. What's the takeaway? Well, if you want to get a set of winter tires, first check to see if there's a brand spec winter tire for your specific model. That's the best insurance that the set that you buy is actually going to work well. The biggest thing we learned throughout this test is that the i4 is a genuinely good car that just happens to be electric. There's no apologizing for its powertrain, especially when it can propel this thing to 60 in 4.4 seconds in our testing. The rest of the time though, the driving experience is so good that the EV-ness of it just sort of fades into the background. You turn this thing on, take it for a spin, and it behaves the way you would expect any good sports sedan to. The problems or challenges we did have with it you could find with any other EV, like winter range or charging issues, or they were body style compromises that you'd also get with the gas-powered 4 Series Gran Coupe. Now, if you're interested in buying one of these, just make sure that the range fits into the worst case driving scenario that you might think of. It probably does. The i4, it rides well, it steers well, and it handles well. Those things may sound simple on their own, but most vehicles can't do all of them, let alone one or two. This does all three.